Ladies and gentlemen, Premier League Darts Night 15 is on the way. My name is Harry Durham. Aberdeen is the destination. The race for the top four is getting ever so juicy, baby. We have three qualifiers already. Luke Littler, course. Luke Humphreys, course. Goodwin Price, course. Listen, to preview today's show, I'm speaking to a recent champion. Someone that has really taken the darts world by storm over the last 48, 72 hours. It's Ollie Howard of the Bullhitters, who, along with the great Peter Wachiri, was crowned the Modus Influencer Showdown Champions pairs. And I'm literally speaking to royalty right now. I'm sad that I would have preferred if Peter Wachiri was on the line, but we're, we'll have to put up with Ollie Howard of the Ball Hitters, ladies and gentlemen. Ollie, congratulations! How have the last 48 hours been in your life after picking up that crown?
First of all, thank you, mate. Yeah, it's been pretty crazy to be fair. I think when we first got invited down there, we were obviously really looking forward to the experience. And then when the pairs came out, and I saw I was partnered with Peter, who I'm pretty sure everyone in the darting world knows now, it was kind of meant to be. I think people were sort of saying that before the event started, and the fact that we managed to pick the trophy up was just, yeah, you just couldn't write it. And I think for not only for my sake, it's obviously an incredibly proud moment for me, but for Peter, that is such a huge moment for him going back to Kenya with that trophy. And I honestly can't wait to see the videos that come out of that when he lands.
Mate, the king, man. I mean, I spoke to him a little bit, and he was saying to me, "Oh, my English isn't very good, blah 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 blah." But he gave it a good go, and he was such a lovely, humble man as well. We've all seen the viral videos of him playing in Kenya, and he just puts a massive smile on your face. It's his celebrations as well. And was it the semi-final? Because I know you're a player, I know you're quality, but was it the 174 that you took out in the semi-final or the final? Which was you had a real clutch moment, which was just
I think
disgusting
yeah,
from
there
what
was
I
there was
saw.
I think the 177 I hit, yeah, that was in the
That's it.
yeah that was in the final. Yeah, we were 3-2 up at the time, and I think Peter had kicked off with a ton. I backed up with a 177, and then we ended up going out in 13 darts to secure the title. So to be fair, I think that was probably our third or fourth 13 of the day. So to be fair, it was crazy how quickly we just gelled from the get go on the day. Obviously, it was the first time I met him, and yeah, his English wasn't particularly great, but we just got a bond off from the get go, and we just had such a laugh and such a good time. And I'm just so glad that we managed to get over the line in that final.
Doesn't matter if you can't speak the same language. You speak the same language on
In
the okie,
tungsten,
and that's
absolutely,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
not yeah. We actually speak 95% tungsten to each other. Get alive.
Yeah,
Go go touch grass for goodness sake. But listen, like seeing you boys down there as well. And we're going to get onto the Premier League, but seeing you guys up there and Charlie Murphy as well, darts referee, all the other names. Oh god, it was quite inspiring, and I was like, I so badly want to be up there in a couple of years' time. So hopefully, Modus, remember the face, remember the name. I want to come up there, go down to Portsmouth, and just show them what it's all about. Prime Peter Manley coming back, getting in everyone's heads. No fist pumping or anything. Harry, it's for charity. Yeah, I understand that, but let's make some more money and some more housery. Right, let's go straight into the Premier League then. Like I mentioned, the race for the top four is really heating up so far this season. Aspinall versus MVG first up, and I think it's probably the biggest game that we've got to speak about throughout the whole week because Dobie, Bunting, done, dusted. MVG just 1 point ahead of Nathan Aspinall, who sits down in fifth. Michael out again in the first round of the Pro Tour yesterday. Something deep is going on with that man in the way that he's playing at the moment. Also dropped out of Pro Tour 16 today. I mean, Vincent van der Voort has had a thing or two to say about it, like he always does on one of the Dutch Darts podcasts. But Ollie, we're seeing so many inconsistencies with Michael at the moment. Is that top four an O2 dream coming to an end when he faces Nathan Aspinall on Thursday night?
I think it's going to be the game that really does decide it. I think if he loses that game, I would fancy Aspinall to finish in the top four. If he goes on and wins it, I think he could potentially go on and get to the final. Looking at the draw from his side, I think for him, since he had his op, obviously he's not the same. We know he's not the same player he was sort of pre-COVID when he was just destroying everything that was in his path.
Mm,
And I think right now, for where he is and where his game's at, I think it's more of a sort of work down, put the elbow grease in, and grind it out, rather than obviously looking for top performances. At the moment, if you asked him, he'd probably take an 87 average and a win against Aspinall tonight, just so that he can get those
yeah.
points ahead of him. But again, Nathan lost first week last week as well. So again, for both of them, it's a high pressure match, and ultimately it could well be the experience of MVG in those sort of high pressure moments. Obviously, he's got to a lot more major finals than Aspinall has, so ultimately it could come down to that. But Nathan can perform in the Premier League, as we've seen once again. People at the start of the tournament are saying, why is he included? This is exactly why
Mm.
he's included. He's literally on the outskirts of the top four, and he's played fantastically throughout. So, yeah, going to be a real interesting one Thursday night. But I think I'd fancy MVG just.
Fancy MVG just, that's massive. And I mean, if he can pull it out of the bag as well, because a night at the O2 Premier League playoffs, you kind of expect Michael Van Gerwen to be there. And I hate to say this because obviously we know and I always bang on about him being a modern day GOAT. You've worked with Michael as much as I have during my career, but are you sensing that it's almost looking like, and I hate to use this phrase, like the beginning of the end with Michael? Because I mean, he could go on for another 10, 15 years, but is this just a patch that he's trying to like work through with all of his injuries, all of his inconsistencies? I don't think we're going to see him back to that level like what he was in 2015. Those days are gone. But do you think we're done seeing him at that high level that he was at a couple of years
Yeah,
ago?
it's a difficult one, because like if you look historically throughout darts, I mean, you had people like sort of like Phil Taylor when MVG started to come on the scene in 2013. Phil was obviously still playing well to 2015, and then people are saying sort of after he played his final against Anderson, he's finished, he's not playing where he was, and then all of a sudden out of the blue, he gets to a world final in 2018 against Rob Cross, and he's still got it, and it's like it's the same with Gezi last year. Everyone's going, Gezi's finished, he's nowhere near it. Going up to sort of November, up to the Worlds last year, people are
Mm.
saying his game's not there, and then all of a sudden, turn of the new year, and he's back into it. So I think darts can change very quickly. We all know that, and I think Michael, ultimately, he is a world champion, and he has got that winning mentality. So I really do hope we start to see some of the old MVG come back. But right now, where his game's at, it doesn't look like it's going to come for a while. But again, that's all on him to put the work in off the board mentally and the practice, and he knows he can get back to where he can play and where he can be.
I'll be really upset and disappointed if Nathan doesn't actually make the top four, because even though I give Michael his plaudits and like we said, we love the man as a bloke and a darts player as well. I just don't think he actually deserves to be there at the O2. Zero nightly wins so far. And Aspinall, yeah, there's been some inconsistencies in the Premier League weeks, but for the most part of it, he's been right up there for giving us a great show along with the likes of Gedwin Price, Luke Littler, and Luke Humphreys.
Absolutely, and I think, like I go back to my point that I said earlier about people at the start of the Premier League asking why he was included, and he has really
Mm.
silenced those critics massively in this Premier League. He has turned up and he has played incredibly well throughout a lot of the games. Yes, there's been inconsistencies, but a lot of the time he's pulled out some real results for himself, and I think genuinely, like you say, Michael not being at the O2 for a finals night is quite unheard of, and it would be quite odd. And
Mm.
I grew up in a time where sort of prime MVG was my idol, and I idolised really whilst growing up playing darts. But it would be really good to see Nathan make the O2 and give it a good shot. Because I think after sort of where his game's been over the last sort of 12 to 18 months, this would be a real massive moment for him. And if he could go on and do the unthinkable, win the semi-final, and obviously win that final, that could be a huge moment for him in kickstarting sort of his career again, if you like, over the next sort of 12 to 18 months, 2 years.
The funny thing is, we're at this point in the Premier League. I look through the whole table and I'm just like scratching my head a little bit, and I'm just like, the hell have I actually got to talk about now? Because the two Lukes are done and dusted. We're just going back on our ground. Gezi's done; he's there as well. Crossy's not going to make it. Bunting and Doby as well, done. And I mean, the last question that I've got for you, and I know we had a conversation about this on Sunday, is your money still fully on Gedwin Price to lift the Premier League trophy on May 29th?
I'm still sticking with him. I think last sort of 2 or 3 weeks, he's not been quite where he was when we spoke previously. But I still fancy him on the 29th of May at the O2. I can just see a real masterpiece coming from him that night. I think he got unlucky. I can't remember when he got to the final before. Was it 2023? He got to the final before. I
Mm.
can't remember. But would really want him to win that Premier League. I think obviously he's got the World Championship under his belt. Obviously a few years ago during COVID, and this for me, I think again would top off what has been a quite remarkable career for him. You know, obviously coming from rugby, winning his first major in 2018, and I just think for him, he's got so much more to offer. And I think he's actually sort of started to get a lot more people on side now, especially fans. You know, I speak to a
Mm.
lot of obviously young darts fans who are now coming into the sport, and they've sort of everyone's sort of moving away from that Gezzy's the sort of pantomime villain type
Yeah,
character,
yeah.
and everyone loves him now. Everyone loves him, giving it the big and on stage and stuff. And I think for me, he's got a real soft spot in my heart. And for me, he is, and probably the rest of the ball hitters as well. He is the holy grail. He's probably all our favourite player, and we really want to see him do well. So I'm sticking with that prediction. I'm sticking with him to win and lift that title.
Ollie Howard, thank you so much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've not checked out the Ball Hitters before, go check out the YouTube channel. Some fantastic challenges on there. Also playing the pro as well. If you think about a piece of content that you want to see in the darting world, the Ball Hitters have done it. It's well worth your time. Well worth subscribing as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please remember that all games at the Premier League Darts this Thursday will be streamed live here on the talkSPORT Darts YouTube channel. I mentioned subscribing to the Ball Hitters. Subscribe to us as well. See you soon.